Today is November 28, 2022. My name is Rob Carr of Kalamazoo Right to Life, and this is Pro-Life Week. Well, today I just want to talk about two articles I read this morning that written by two pro-life authors who have come to two different conclusions regarding the future of the pro-life movement, strategies, and perhaps the consequences of the midterm elections. And the first was written by a woman, an attorney, who works with Focus on the Family out of Colorado Springs. Her article is entitled, Why the Pro-Life Movement Keeps Losing Elections. And it is from Newsweek. Now, I'm not sure if the article is strictly on its online website or if it's actually published in the magazine. I don't know. But either way, it is on the Newsweek website. And the author identifies or cites 6 straight ballot initiative losses this past November. Obviously, the one in Michigan with Proposal 3, California, Vermont, Montana, and 2 in Kentucky, one back about 3 months ago, and the second just this past November. And she opines 3 reasons why we're losing. Number 1 is the massive funding gap between the money that the pro-abortion side can raise and how much the pro-lifers raise. And she identifies Michigan as an example where the Proposal 3 pro-abortion group raised $46 million and the pro-life side raised $17 million. Well, actually, her numbers are off quite a bit, especially on the pro-abortion side. According to the latest numbers I've seen, the pro-abortion lobby raised, or the coalition raised, between $60 and $70 million, and the pro-life coalition raised about $21 million. So we were outraised 3-1 in Michigan alone. And that affected our ability to run the same number of commercials and ads, billboards, campaign literature. Those things all added up. And we just were outspent. And that was reflected in how the voter turnout was. The author also sees a disconnect between our desire to see hearts and lives change, our passion for the pro-life cause, but then we're not as willing to invest our resources to match our passion. The other side, the George Soros type billionaires, they see abortion as a business investment. They are very invested on the whole issue of reproductive rights, and they will give millions and millions of dollars, whether it's to a PAC connected with a candidate, or if it's going to a ballot initiative. Like I said, George Soros donated $5 million just to the Michigan Prop 3. And there were other billionaires, whether they were in California or New York or Washington, that gave multiple millions of dollars to Prop 3. And we just did not have the kind of billionaires that would make those large donations to help underwrite a referendum. They just were not there. So we had to rely on just regular middle-class pro-lifers. And it's just hard to match those high roller dollars coming in for the pro-abortion side. Number 2, the pro-life movement needs to rethink the strategy of ballot initiatives. And she cites Kentucky. Kentucky already has a pro-life statute that bans most abortions. But the pro-life coalition decided to put on the ballot a referendum that would put it into the state constitution. And what happened was that brought out the pro-abortion voter that may not have been very invested in the election, but all of a sudden, when this ballot initiative was there, that didn't need to be there because, like I said, Kentucky already had a pro-life law, but it was on the ballot, and it just energized the pro-abortion voter, as well as here again, I go back to the funding. It brought out pro-abortion billionaires and millionaires to make large cash donations to defeat this pro-life initiative. And that is a real concern that the other side has the advantage. It was just a misplaced opportunity because Kentucky did not need to have a referendum. They did not need to do it. But they proceeded, they wanted it on the ballot, they wanted it in the state constitution to protect themselves, and it backfired tragically. The pro-abortion lobby knows that ballot measures are effective ways in advancing abortion laws. They will drive voter turnout. And listen to this. They have already shared their intent to run their pro-abortion ballot initiatives in more states with pro-life laws. And the writer identifies some states where this may happen: Arkansas, Arizona, Ohio, Missouri, North and South Dakota. So these are very serious consequences that a strategy on our part may have backfired and given the pro-abortion people the incentive to use well-funded initiatives to bring out their vote, to perhaps even overturn our pro-life laws by state constitutional referendums. The third item she mentions is that we need to increase our efforts, like through educational means, to change the hearts and minds of American voters. An entire generation has grown up believing that abortion was a constitutional right and not a moral wrong. Abortion was a form of birth control for many women, and they even said that it was good. Abortion was good for women. Tragically, they would think that. We must increase our efforts to let the public know that abortion harms everyone, from the unborn, women, families, minorities, and the poor. Regarding minorities, especially the Black population, they have been targeted and exploited by the likes of Planned Parenthood, who have basically told Black women, you have no other option because you're poor. You have no other option but to abort your baby. And tragically, the Black population has really not grown in the last 30 years, while the number of Hispanics has more than doubled in that period of time. And a lot of that is somewhat cultural. Historically, Hispanics have been Roman Catholic, they've been more conservative, socially conservative, and very family-based, and they have not been aborting their children. But Blacks, tragically, have been used and exploited by Planned Parenthood and other abortion providers to use almost eugenics to keep their populations down. Okay, so that is the first article by this woman from Focus on the Family. The second article is written by a writer for the National Review, a conservative magazine. Quote, there's little evidence abortion hurt Republicans. Some of almost the exact opposite point of view. And he says that this past November, the Republicans won the popular vote, 52 to 48%. The myth that more women voted in 2022 is just that, a myth. Back in 2018, 52% of voters were women. In 2022, 52% of voters were women. So abortion did not bring out more women voters. That number stayed the same at 52%. Dobbs, the Supreme Court case, did not increase the percentage of women voters. The author writes, quote, "Notice that every Republican loss in the midterms is chalked up to abortion by the media, but the reverse is not." And he cites two cases, two congressional cases where a pro-abortion incumbent was who almost exclusively used abortion in their campaign ads. So that was the issue they were running on, abortion, and on Dobbs. They were defeated by pro-life challengers who obviously were underfunded, because for the most part, all these people were underfunded. You think about Tudor Dixon, how underfunded she was compared to Gretchen Whitmer. It's unbelievable how underfunded she was by comparison to the governor. No wonder Whitmer won the race. But then there's a lot of discussion that it's all speculation that had Dobbs not overturned Roe v. Wade and basically had upheld Roe, what would have been the outcome in November? If Dobbs had not been an issue, would there have been a change in the election? And he says it may have depressed social conservative turnout if the court had not given an affirmative, yes, Roe v. Wade is going to be overturned. If that had not been there, social conservatives might have stayed home and not voted, which would have obviously given more incentive to the liberals. And if Roe was not going to be overturned, that's more incentive for the pro-abortion voter to rally around their candidates and vote for them. So Dobbs really was not the political earthquake that a lot of people really think that it was this past November. So that's basically his argument, that the number of women didn't increase, and some pro-abortion incumbents were defeated even though they campaigned on abortion. And of course, the House became Republican. The Democrats, the pro-abortion Democrats, lost the House of Representatives. And, that wasn't because of the pro-abortion voter. It was because of the pro-life voter turning out to elect pro-life Republicans. So I'm not going to take a position one way or the other whose side I agree with, because I think both writers have valid arguments. I do. And, the reader has to, make their own decision who they agree with more. But I'm going to let you go with that, and I will see you next time.